I'm here with a man who has served in both the US military and the IDF. While sitting on the Gaza border, he worked out a way to asymmetrically knock out Iran.
So Milton Friedman came here in the 70s. He said there's two types of Jews he encountered in Israel. There's the traditional Jew, which is very entrepreneurial. And then there's the new Jew, which is a socialist, paratrooper, like a kibbutznik, right?
Yeah.
And he was very disillusioned when he came here. And I think one of the amazing things that's happening is there's this re-blossoming of the traditional Jew coming from Israel. And what you're getting is, first of all, the most amazing startups. Like, I'll give you two examples. I was in Gaza. There's a place called Terminal 3. So at the end of Netzarim, so the dead center of Gaza, right? There's this place called Terminal 3, which is when you go in and out of Kibbutz Be'eri, the end of Kibbutz Be'eri into Gaza. I'm doing guard duty. And it's from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. 6 hours. It's mind-numbingly boring. The weather's terrible.
You're just standing there looking out into the abyss.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally, you're hoping for, you hear,
something happens, yeah.
I mean, us going there, not the reverse.
Yeah.
But even the reverse is okay, there's something, you're going a little crazy. And a Humvee comes up, and it's all busted up, looks terrible. These guys are, disheveled. They've been in the field for days, few weeks, clearly not showered for a long time, low on ammo. They're going to get food where we were, just for a few hours and finally go home after being gone for a long time. So guy pulls up and I say, Shalom. I clearly have an accent. I'm not the heaviest Hebrew accent. He said, where are you from? I said, America. I kept talking for 2 seconds. And he's like, I got my PhD at Penn State in nuclear engineering. So we went on this 2-hour-long discussion, here at the Humvee, on nuclear engineering and all the SMRs, small modular reactors. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Again, I was going a little crazy at that point. You're 3-4 hours in, but I was screaming what on earth is going to happen if Israel does not win in terms of energy policy? Again, I want to put this in context, right? The two of us are screaming at each other like a Talmudic debate. This guy's about nuclear engineering versus coal versus solar versus, wind. But what's going to be for our grandchildren in Israel in terms of energy dominance, AI databases, building enough we need energy to fill robots. And this is happening in Gaza. And here's a guy looking at, and his mind's blown. So he's a Haredi guy with 9 kids, with a beard and everything, and I'm arguing the point that it's not about picking one particular energy, it's every energy. And the whole idea is we want more electrons in Israel. That should be the number one policy of any politician is how do we get more electrons in Israel? More electrons in Israel means higher GDP growth. Higher GDP growth means entrepreneurship, means blossoming of everything. Bigger, better everything, right? What country in the world, what place in the world are frontline soldiers, guys who are in combat zone, I was in logistics command of the 99th. I'm not in the command, I was in the unit with the command. Yeah. We're going in and out of Gaza. I'm spending 3 nights sleeping on a floor in Gaza City, in the peak of things in last July. And again, I get a few days off where I get to do guard duty, that's so great, Yeah. And again, I'm not taking my experience. My experience is 1/1,000,000th of what everyone else went through. Okay. I had the nicest, I had 5-star accommodations compared to other guys. Other guys really were, did it, right? Logistics guy, never once shot my gun. These guys and this guy was shooting his gun and living life and death every second. And again, all we're thinking about is what is Israel going to look like in decades from now? And how do we build energy plants now that we don't benefit from? We're paying for, but we can help our grandchildren's future, right? I don't think that there is a civilization that exists today that has thinking that way. And it's such an amazing, it feels so awesome to be part of. It's indescribable to be part of this tribe that cares in that way. So, okay, a little background on myself. I'm from a small town called Youngstown, Ohio. I'm 7th generation in that town from my dad.
Wow.
So my dad's a Eagle Scout, a U.S. lawyer, U.S. Air Force, served in the U.S. Air Force. His grandfather served in World War I. As American
family.
No, not really. I mean, again, just a few people, but still
right.
But American, my dad's great uncles went to Harvard Law School. That's how married to non-Jewish girls, completely assimilated, American as you get, in Ohio, right? My grandfather was very instrumental in creating the William McKinley presidential birthplace, like the library for decades. Like, I'm a big, if you're watching this, I'm a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt and William McKinley. So
the life you're living is certainly sounds like a bit of a Teddy Roosevelt. So
I hope so. Yeah, trying to. I'm not into birds as he is, but yeah.
Well, everyone's got their needs.
Everyone got their needs. I went to University of Chicago for undergraduate, got to Harvard for grad school, decided and asked Rabbi Yashiv a question, what to do. He said to get married instead. So I went from Israel, bouncing around a lot, obviously, in the story, but went to New York, met my wife. We met 3 times, decided to get married. So now we just had our 9th kid a few months ago. I joked when I had him, I was in Gaza when I was told, okay, it's go time, like to go back home. My commander commanded me, I had to go back home. So,
for the childbirth.
For the birth,
Right.
And I was like, listen, that's not the way it works. Like, it doesn't just because she's complaining now doesn't mean this is number 9. It's not like, okay, And I also listen. I'm gonna milk this. Like if you let me out, I'm gonna I'm gonna tell. Listen, just keep it in there for a few more days. Yeah. Anyways,
head pops out. No, we want a Rosh Chodesh birthday. Something like that.
I want to spend Shabbos here at home. So that's a true story. Okay, that's So I got to joke and say I missed most of his beginning life, which is pretty cool. Because immediately after having him, I was back.
Right.
And then here for the bris, and then but back
just
there.
Another father who doesn't want to do nappies. No more diapers.
Back to the flow of it. So I had a kid while serving in Gaza, which was quite an amazing experience. We named him Onkelos. Onkelos is the main translator into Aramaic. He has the most amazing story, right? He's a guy who could have been the next Roman emperor. So his uncle does not have any more children. He's the nephew of the Roman emperor, Trajan. Mm-hmm. And he dies without kids. Mm-hmm. He could have been the emperor of Rome. He could have been the most powerful person in the world.
I'm trying to see if there's a Chumash.
Yeah, there's a bunch, yeah. I mean, you want to wheel over and get, I'm sure in the Rambam, they probably have it on the bottom. Oh, actually not. Look at that. No, yeah, of course it's right here. Sorry, what am I saying?
Right here.
Yeah, every single one has a Onkelos. Every
for perspective, every single Bible that's written in book form, that's Onkelos. That's who he basically explained what was going on in the intents.
Yeah. So what I said when I named him that was he has the best real estate other than Rashi, who's the other major commentary, is the best real estate, and no one ever names him after him. There's we couldn't find a single historical Onkelos in history. It's a Greek man. It's similar to evangelical. It's the same word. It means giving mevaser tov, which means in Hebrew good tidings. So that's what it means. It's a Greek term. But he kept it, so there must be something really holy about it. So we named him Onkelos. That was pretty awesome. So that's where I'm at right now. During that time, during pretty much the exact time that's happening, there's an election in the United States. Talking to my co-founder on this current startup we're working on, Yoni Nadavud. His parents are fled from Iran, so they had to run away. They're Jews who had to flee the Islamic regime. And also during the same time, we're getting shot at by Iranian missiles. These things are I'm personally getting shot at by
Hamas.
Hamas missiles, but also Iranian missiles. And my parents live up north in Nahariya, so they're getting shot at. So I'm not really feeling the Iranian regime so much. I love Persians, love Persian culture, love Persian food. Don't like the regime that much, I
don't think that's too controversial.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think you have to cut that.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty. We don't like the Iranian regime.
Listen, you said you're from Brooklyn. I don't know I don't know which side of the aisle you're at.
The tunnels. I thought.
Yeah, the tunnels. Yeah, the Brooklyn tunnels. So we decided we want to do something, and we were thinking of ways to hurt them, and. I'm coming from a background of pretty deep tech engineering, managing teams. And my partner is at Stanford MBA. It's fun, again, it's just back to the story of meeting a nuclear engineer. He has an uncut beard and he has a black kippah, and it's just we're breaking. I'm very happy with this. We're very much breaking the stereotypes in Israel. There's a very caste system, divisions, and I'll tell you a little side note also on this. It's so important that when you think about Israel, you don't think of us as a charity, It breeds inefficiency, right? I don't know,
non-for-profit inefficiency.
Yeah,
and it's a
mission drift, and like as opposed to investing in startups and saying, okay, I'm going to give you a small amount of money to see if it works. Go. You're going to employ way more. This is like giving people free enterprise, like giving people a chance. So we decided to start this company where we would track we would find every single Iranian tanker, Russian tanker, Venezuelan tanker, using AI predictive models. We built it. It's quite amazing. That was within again, this is only last 3 months, right? Mm-hmm. Built it. Now we're doing the demos, UI, UX, like building out the user experience and user interfaces, making it look pretty. And recruited a rocket scientist. This guy definitely could have been at SpaceX, something like that, in Silicon Valley. So a Stanford guy that's a friend of my co-founder.
Living here.
No, he's a non-Jewish guy in Silicon Valley. Amazing, unbelievable engineer. And we end up getting two of the greatest minds behind this. Eugene Kantarovich spoke in front of the U.S. Senate a few weeks ago about Panama. He's one of the leaders of the Panama. Yeah. So that's Eugene Kantarovich. He's one of our co-founders, and then Trump's former deputy secretary of state for sanctions also joined our team. So we have quite an all-star team. Quite pumped about. And we had two theses. One is that there's a concept in the U.S. Congress, the U.S. Constitution, which says you can have letters of marque. Letters of marque means that the U.S. government can allow privateers, buccaneers, like pirates, right? Mm-hmm. And my kids are reading this children's book called The Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's about this guy named Rabbi Yaakov Coriel, who became a rabbi. He was a student of the Arizal, one of the major leaders of Kabbalah. He got real smicha from Mari Barav, meaning in the entire history of Jews in the last 2,000 years, there's only been about 6 or 7 real rabbis. He got actual smicha, real ordination. He's one of them. And he's a full-on pirate. He's going around raiding Spanish ships because it's the height of the Spanish Inquisition. Yeah. He has a Jewish slaughter on board. It's amazing, right? His name's Yaakov Coriel. So we're talking this idea. We're putting the two together. We're saying, if we go after these Iranian ships, we can make a lot of money if we're able to capture them, which we think we have a pretty good chance of doing so. It's a little dicey, to say the least, but we think we can. On the other hand, even if we don't succeed at capturing a ship, which again I think we can, we caught already $3 billion worth of oil going from.
When you say catch, you mean electronically catch?
No. I'm talking about.
You've got boys on the.
I'm talking about working with the U.S. Navy and working with some private contractors and getting them, because we're at war with those guys. And why not?
No, of course.
Who's going to tell us no? They're going to. What are you going to do? Shoot a ballistic missile at me? Good for you. You tried.
We're America.
No, I'm me. I'm Ben Clayman. Yeah.
Okay, even better. There we go.
Come after me. Come on. We got an investor calling. The guy's like, "What happens if the Iranians come after you?" I gave him my address. Here's my address. Show up. Let's see what happens. I'm ready to rock. What a great way to go down with the ship.
Mate, I think I just found my new best mate.
So even if we failed that, we built this amazing SaaS, software as a service, where we can track ships. And so we went to we already spoke to 2 of the largest ship owners in the world. Okay.
Right.
Just through emailing and trying to use our networks and some AI chickerency, okay, writing some really crafty emails to figure out how to get to this,
Of course.
And we get to these people, and it's like, hey, we have something that, imagine if you can track all your ships and make sure it's called CYT, cover your tuchus. It's a very important legal phrase. Where it's
do you want to translate tuchus for?
Yeah, it's tuchus. I'm not going to translate. If you don't know, Google it.
Cover your old mate. Cover your old mate.
Which means if you're getting in trouble with the U.S. government, you're getting in trouble with the sanctions, or it's called KYC, know your client, or AML, anti-money laundering laws. We want to make the absolute best system in the world. So we think we did that. We think we built a way which we can track every ship in the world. We can track. We have ways using really amazing Israeli technology to find out ultimate beneficiary ownership. Who actually owns that ship? What are you doing with that ship? What's the actual bearing versus? It's really easy to change your the GPS on your phone. Yeah. We figured ways to stop anti-spoofing, and package it all. We did it in a few months, 3 months so far, 3.5 months, and so that's where we're at. We're in the dreaded fundraising phase, but I think that we're going to get. I think that we're just internally debating do we want to take as much money? Do we not want to take money? Who do we want to take money from? We're getting there. We're getting, in terms of philosophically, there's definitely a big divide between the Silicon Valley side of us, the Ohio side of me, which is let's not take anything. Let's just, and then the Israeli side, which is, there's 3 different major philosophies in the
Maybe could you explain a little bit of that? I'm intrigued by that.
Silicon Valley typically has been, very, very easy money. So let's take as much as we can. And so the problem is, it's this is like venture, right? So venture capital, very few companies succeed.
Yeah.
which then make outsized gains for all the failures, right? So you can have like, I'm making the numbers, I forget the numbers are, but let's say it's like 90 complete failures, 9 moderate successes, and one
hit, and then
that's it. You've made ginormous returns, right? So as opposed to say that more the Midwestern philosophy is like, let's build small businesses that become medium-sized businesses, becomes large businesses. We can scale. Obviously, we can build huge businesses if they succeed, but let's have the fundamental economics work. Like, let's make sure the SaaS.
That's quite similar to the Australian sort of mindset as well, I think.
You guys do business in Australia?
Yeah, we chuck shrimps on the barbie, we count them all, and then go for a surf. But,
It's the Bogans.
Yeah,
They're the ones.
exactly.
Crocodile Dundee. That's
Steve
Irwin. That's it. Steve Irwin doing God's work.
Oliver Sholem.
Yeah, doing God's work. Doing God's work. Keeping the manta rays free.
And then the Israeli method. So
Israeli method.
That's the difference that I'm intrigued to hear.
So the Israeli method. I just heard a great podcast. Aleph, I think his name is Mike Eisenberg, and the CEO of Waze, Noam. I forget his. Whatever. So they were talking.
Chomsky.
No, definitely not Chomsky. Definitely not Chomsky. They had this amazing talk where they were, like, he was explaining that Israelis think very local, right? So you have a Chinese entrepreneur, and he's like, okay, what's a medium-sized success? We have 400 million users, right? That's like a medium-sized success, right? And a really innovative Chinese entrepreneur will say, okay, no, we're going to go global, right? But like a second base would be 400 million users, right? And Israelis like, can we get Dimona on board?
Right. Yeah.
Like, can we get
can we get Petah Tikva?
Yeah. What it's like
Yavna.
Yeah, and then how can we sell out? How can we have an exit? It's all the talk is exit. Well, why not build something way bigger? And like, if you look at genetically, okay, what's the difference between Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Ballmer, Larry Ellison? I can go on and on. The founders of Google. I just listed,
several of them.
Every single one's Jew. I just listed.
Yeah.
And they're Israel, like they're first cousins, second cousins. Who the difference was one went to Israel, one went to
to the U.S.
from the Pale Settlement, whatever, and one went this way. Is okay? Is there something philosophically that they're again genetically the same? Let's say values and morals pretty much the same, work ethic the same. There's a great Talmudic phrase which is a man goes after his surroundings, environment. A man goes after his environment. And so we have to again, it's back to that nuclear engineering conversation I had in the entrance of Gaza. Again, right behind us is the smoldering ruin of Be'eri, and in front of us is Gaza. And it's a surreal moment where you're like, the only thing you can focus on those moments are how do we build the future? Yeah. And I'll say this is probably the most important thing I'm going to say right now. This whole conversation is, if anyone who's listening to this or anyone who's thinking about investing in Israel or coming to Israel or being part of this, is that the future is Israel. Elon Musk and anyone who's thinking about going to Mars or anything else has to answer the following 2 questions. A, and I got on your case when we first met off camera, are you having children? Israel is the only wealthy country in the world, OECD, which is having above replacement rate levels of children. It's a fact, okay? Yeah. At the same time, we have educated female workforce. At the same time, we have extraordinarily expensive housing costs. But we're forward thinking. We're thinking, okay, we want to have, we're pro-human, Yeah. Dare I say,
it's all about continuing on the legacy of the story.
The story and the legacy and the Torah values. It's amazing. It's absolutely spectacular to spend Shabbat in an army base with all different types of Jews and some non-Jews too. We had a few Filipino guys and a few African guys, and who are not Jewish at all. But you're part of this thing called the Israeli story. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I mean, we have a higher GDP now than the UK and Germany. Wow. Yeah, you probably don't know that. Most people don't know that.
No,
Google it,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Maybe I just made that up. I'll ask afterwards. ChatGPT, but it sounded good. Yeah. Look it up.
Do you think that difference in perspective? We talk about the only difference between an Altman and maybe Shmuley Altman.
Well, even do a better one. Altman's co-founder is a guy from Jerusalem.
Right.
The CTO, I forget his name right now, Ilya something.
Okay. Yeah.
What? Again, he's just started his own thing. He just raised $20 billion, so he's not doing bad,
Yeah. But what is the difference?
But Altman's not the engineer behind it. It's this Israeli guy.
How much do you think that the socialist beginnings of Israel played an impact on that mindset? And how much do you think that's shifted in the past 20 years or so?
That's
20 years.
Amazing question. That's the beginning story of Milton Friedman, where he diagnosed the problem. I went to Chicago, right? And so Rabbi Brackman is the Chabad rabbi of Chicago, and he had when Milton Friedman died, he had like a kind of like a quasi shiva for him,
Mm-hmm.
I remember like all these Chinese economic grad students came there, and like these are the children of like the elites in China, and they're studying
Milton Friedman,
and they felt so much that they wanted to come to like the Jewish service it was amazing.
To understand
it was amazing. Okay, like to understand like okay, it can't be his economics. It has to be something spiritual about these people that's making them tick.
Yeah,
and we need to understand that to bring back to the Politburo or whatever of the Chinese Communist Party. So there's a fundamental problem that happened in Israel, and it was that traditional Jews ceded a lot of intellectual capacity for the founding of the state, the bedrock constitution of the state. So the judicial department in Israel is evil. They're terrible. We don't live in a democracy. We don't live in a dictatorship. We live in a what's called judicocracy, like the judiciary, like the legal department.
Right. Yeah.
Like the Supreme Court can magically do whatever they want. Again, I'm not saying
let's say the political side of things.
I'm not even saying political so much. I'm just saying like fact, right? And I agree with most of the things they're saying. I'm not even disagreeing with the idea, just that where the power comes from, and that comes from this idea that there's this expert class, and that there's economists can figure out how to best allocate resources. They can't do junk nothing. Like they're like professors who've never made money in their life. Like what are you doing? And there's definitely a huge shift that's happening in the secular Israeli world. It's already happened. And one of the big problems is in the religious, let's say the Haredi world, where I definitely live in. I live down the street here in Harnov. There's still a extreme socialist tendency that is masked by what they think is tzedakah or charity, charitable giving.
Right.
But reality is it's this like, neo-Marxist idea that's parasitically infected into the mindset, right?
Right.
So one of the great things that's happening, maybe that's people over the age of 40. Under the age of 40, there is we can make money and still be all these, say-to-our deals. We can make amazing, innovative companies and stick within the tenets of the Torah. We can make
still give, still charity,
and still give, and still be charitable, and still help people in need, and like special needs kids and mental health people, and like people who have diseases. Of course, you want to help all those people, right? But like the default should be, and also obviously Torah scholars too. We want those guys to crush it. Those are the greatest, right? But like we want to do all that and live in the best country in the world. And I'll leave this last idea about just how Israel is changing, how amazing it is. There is a huge tidal wave change that's happening about thinking of Israel as Israel Inc. Not Israel, the state of Israel, but Israel as a state, and as a state of a country, of a corporation. And so I, as a citizen, have a piece of that corporation. I want the value of my citizens to go up, and I think you're going to see massive changes in the next few years. And so, like,
no, I agree. I mean, you can even see in the past 10 years when you come to Israel, then relative to now, the amount of buildings that are going up. My father used to always say that the way that you assess a city's economy is by how many cranes are up in the sky.
Yeah.
And you can see that in Israel, even in the midst of a war. That's what shocked me so much.
I recommend everyone to go to the place called Netivot, which is right on the border of Gaza, or Sderot, which is right on the border of Gaza. Yeah. And you will just, like, the entire skyline is cranes. And you're like, this doesn't make any
sense.
What?
And Sderot was, they were literally terrorists driving through.
Everywhere. I'm saying everywhere. Got building, like it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And in Nahariya, you go there, you'll see cranes everywhere. Like, again, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's a guy sitting in the office right next to us right here who's creating a company, he's going to start selling timeshares, which we don't have in Israel. They have it in Orlando and like other places in America. Doesn't exist in Israel yet. Yeah, like you get a free way to go to Disney World. You get a timeshare. Go to the conference. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to buy a timeshare. So he's going to create a company with timeshares, and I think he's right. I think like there's going to be such unbelievable demand globally for Israeli real estate, because this is where this innovation is going to start happening. It already is, but like the bleeding edge. And the world right now is like, okay, everyone's kind of been, whatever, maybe a country is 10 years, 20 years behind, but it catches up. There's going to be three major things that a society needs to win in the future, which is children, energy, electrons, and calories. Which you can argue that that electrons are calories for robots and, machines. And those three things, you're pretty much good to go. We were granted a miracle, an open miracle in the land of Israel when I was a young kid. I'm 36 right now. I remember coming to Israel with my mom, and you had to be worried about, like, you turn on and off the water. Okay. This year we had a terrible, terrible drought compared to the last few years. Now it's raining outside, but like, it's a super terrible year for drought. Nobody cares that much. Why? Because we have this amazing technology, osmosis, like reverse osmosis and desalinization and like conservation and all these amazing technologies that Israelis built, drip irrigation, we're able to do. It's so amazing. For thousands of years, people have been praying and praying and praying for water. And like now we have this technology that gives us water.
That just creates
from seawater. Yeah. And it's like, wait, I just have to take uranium and like split it and get energy and then like do this and I have water all the time. It's amazing. Okay. Food. We have more calories now than we've ever had in history ever.
You're telling me.
Yeah. From your lips to God's ears. Yeah. Those wings were great last night. It's amazing what we can do. I mean, absolutely. So we have the calories, we have the electrons, right? And children. And like the number one question that I'm asking any startup is, will this make my children's future better? And if the answer is yes, which again, I think that this, sanction tracker and figuring out how to hurt our enemies in an asymmetric way is awesome. I'm like, and is it willing to bet time and money and a few years of my life going into and like trying to figure out if we win? Yeah, it is. It's really awesome. It's a lot of fun. It's amazing. It's definitely the Wild West. I mean, there's places where there's no rules. I mean, like you're talking about the open seas, there's some things that you can do there that you couldn't do anywhere else with the support of the U.S. government, which is amazing too. Like,
thank God for that.
Yeah. I wouldn't like to be rushed doing this one. Yeah. And like, it's spectacular. And like, it really takes, I'll end off on one last thing before we do this reel. I have these two friends in America, which are pretty big YouTube personalities. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about how like, how did I meet them? I just started sending them emails because I was listening to their stuff and I sent them emails. And they just had a podcast where they're describing that like in the few years they've been doing this, 98% of the people who email them with like philosophical questions are Jews. Like they're just like they're not a Jewish couple. They're like and they're like, we've been doing this for years. And we see like the data, like you guys only make up 1/1000th of the world's population watching YouTube, okay? And like 90, and it's like it's the exact opposite. Like 999 of the 1,000 like philosophical inquiries. Not like, okay, your lighting's off or like the
it's like,
from Jews. And then of that, it's like the more Jewy sounding names, like the Benjamin Claymans and like the Ephraims and the whatever Menashes are the ones who are like,
of course.
Yeah. I'm not sure Australians, but yeah, same idea, right? Are the ones like asking these questions. And that's the most amazing thing. Like we're living in a country, Israel is a country asking questions. It's being forced to. God is guiding us to force these questions. And to end off, again, I'm on the battlefield in and out of Gaza. And at the point is, and these two Jews are asking themselves questions of what's the future look like, and it's awesome. I mean, it's spectacular. And I'm a betting man. I put all my resources here. My kids are my wife and kids are here. This is the future. And so, if anyone's listening to this, they're invited to come see me in Jerusalem. Love to hang out.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be going for a beer or two after.
What kind of beer? Yeah.
12%.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Great.